Good morning, everyone. It's Saturday, January 29th. I'm Alisyn Camerota. We start with the Fox News.
Meanwhile, the president last night, of course, addressing the nation after his press conference that he held a press conference after phoning.
I think a lot of people this morning are wondering, what is this all about? Why are they protesting? Why are they out in the street? Yes, they want President Mubarak out, but this is about money. This is about...
And people there on the ground this morning, as we were waking up and hearing about the protests, yelling the word revolution in the streets. For more on the ground in Cairo, mentioned it's amazing she's on a cell phone. She's on a phone.
We're not as hard hit as if you're living on less than $2 a day. So at some point, it just reached a tipping point, and the government, the people didn't think the government was addressing it.
Yeah, and when you talk about revolutions, you usually talk about the youth.
Very, very similar to what we experienced.
See, we will keep you posted throughout the morning with what's happening on the ground in Egypt. We do have some more headlines for you, though, because protests are all guns.
What a mess. Sorry. Meanwhile, Rick Reichmuth with a check.
These protesters are not part of any organized political party. There's no leader waiting in the wings to take over if Mubarak steps down. So what can be next?
On in 1978,
Correct.
of course, the Islamic Revolution. And that's the big fear right now, that President Mubarak leaves. If he leaves, and it doesn't seem likely, and this morning we're hearing shouts of revolution, revolution. So him firing his cabinet for that. And is that a major concern this morning?
It's also complicated for President Obama. Is President Obama supposed to support Mubarak through this?
No, and this have the Suez Canal controlled by Islam.
Morning, if you don't mind.
Good morning, everyone. Welcome into Fox and Friends. If you're just waking up with us this morning.
Going on the ground for us, we really appreciate it. Thank goodness she has a phone to call out, because some cell phone service has been restored this morning.
Yeah, and I'm also hearing this morning actually on Twitter and via some of our viewers out there who have family and relatives in
Acceptable outcome. Many of you this morning are waking up still wondering what this is all about. Why are these people out there? Yes, they want Mubarak out, but it's really about dollars and cents. They do not have jobs, and the cost of food has risen. Although marginal, any increase in the cost of food is devastating for the people of Egypt. They are extremely poor. We've told you earlier that 40% of this country...
Bayas together, all protesting in the street.
And you saw the graphic we just put up there, 9.7% unemployment rate. Looks very similar to what work. They're having to try to find work in...
Better than the devil you don't know. And so the U.S. is approaching very cautiously, because who would fill that power vacuum?
Yeah. We'll have much more on this. We're going to speak with KT McFarland in a short time. Again, we'll check back in with our reporters who are covering this story.
All right, we do have some more headlines for you, so let's get right to those, because prosecutors and defense lawyers are...
Oh, you were planning to watch later today.
You had a T-vote for...
You know one person that was planning to watch? Rick Reichmuth. He is a generated
with very little risk from those that perpetrate these crimes.
In some cases, these are teenage girls. One particular...
A shiver down parents' spines. So let's talk about how to protect yourself. This is one of the things that this show covers. So let's... I know you have some tips. Let's go. First, you say very... Well, Brad Barker, the show is Kidnap and Rescue.
Everyone, we start with the Fox News alert. Protesters hit the streets again.
About this, Douglas?
Yeah, you guys know that homeschool...
An interesting case, and obviously has widespread, ramifications for other couples. Thanks, Douglas.
Sure does. Thanks, Douglas. All right, coming up, Egypt's government.
For more on the situation and on the ground and what is happening at this very hour, let's go by phone to Courtney Keeley, who is live in Cairo. Tell us what you're seeing now, Courtney.
Alisyn, I'm looking at graffiti in both Arabic and...
To check in with her throughout the program, she mentioned earlier that one of the
because there's been this crackdown on all of communications, though there are reports that some cell phones in some areas are back on. But we've been talking about how if they let communications come back, it might even quell some of the protests.
Yeah, let's get more on this, because Peter Ducey's been tracking viewers this morning who I was saying they were able to jump online using satellite internet connections, relaying information to their family members here in the United States. So they're having to use these dial-up modems, which Peter just talked about. Think about that. The people are still using dial-up modems, but in the face of all this other stuff being shut down.
Yeah, whatever it takes. All right, meanwhile, there are other headlines to get to. This renege on that deal if he, in fact, went streaking in front of the president.
He streaked that he's in prison and he doesn't get the money.
It's
he can't bear it. Perhaps he's got a lawsuit. Well,
can't bear it?
Sorry.
Uses that wry tone and makes light of something when he feels under fire from the other side.
Clearly mocking the Republicans,
well, okay,
though,
so is it mocking? This is...
Haven't seen it. I'm here to report Granny is safe.
Yeah,
well, here's what we are seeing, though. This is such a great health care plan that we've seen
so many waivers being asked for and being granted that at some point it just renders it almost useless.
Well, that's what we've been hearing, that death could be the signs of that happening. All right, let us know. Email us, friends@foxnews.com. But first, let's go to Rick, who is hugging between the people on the street there, the protesters, and the military. And we had Ambassador Bolton.
Out of their military and the military, we saw them, remember the human and chain, just arm in arm. So that was it. They weren't being violent. It's the riot police that the protesters are fighting with. They don't like the riot police, but
Right,
the
but you
military
think-
so far. What he was saying, and it's not because I speak the language, but because I heard the translation earlier, he was basically, this was very unusual. He said that this was all a plan. He basically said that, get right to your headlines, because protests are also taking place in other parts of the Arab world. In Jordan, all right, the FDA is investigating a possible link between breast implants and a rare type of cancer. And Dr. Caroline Cromwell from our medical aid team joins us now with more on this. Welcome. Breast implants, how big of a worry is this for them this morning? Well, this is 30 minutes. If you don't know that you have some sort of artery problem or heart disease,
Afterwards, all of these changes went away. But the implication...
Caroline Cromwell, thanks so much for coming in to explain it to us.
Thank you.
Let's go down to the control room to Dave.
Joined this morning by Governor Mike Huckabee is here with us to talk about what's going on right now in
between oil prices, the market went down. We also give $1.5 billion a year to Egypt, but we're told even more so that the relationship is so important between the United States.
Really an organized political party. They don't have any candidate waiting in the wings or any leader that wants to assume power should Mubarak step aside. So people do worry that regardless of what the protesters want, it's the Muslim Brotherhood or something like that could come in.
Well, remember who owns the guns right now. It's order.
Interesting. All right, we'll stick right there. More with the governor coming up in just a bit. What he thinks in just a couple of minutes.
All right, meanwhile, prosecutors and defense lawyers agreeing to move Jared Loughner's hearings from Phoenix to
before we get you out of here on this, some of the last developments that we've just been reporting in the past hour. A new cabinet apparently going to be put in place a little bit later this afternoon by Hosni Mubarak, and a lot of the female protesters taking to the streets there. And
Afterwards, all of these changes...